All right, and good evening, everybody. It is Studman here, and about to start streaming shortly. But I wanted to do a final review, sort of impressions on Resident Evil Requiem. I had to end the stream abruptly last night, so didn't really get to fully dive in to the end of the game and talking about the game as a whole. So I wanted to do that to cap off the playthrough, kind of do a full breakdown of the game, kind of the dual protagonist system, Grace and Leon, how their stories intersect, the good versus bad ending, which I found out about the endings the hard way, which was kind of funny, but kind of what the overall, this will mean for Resident Evil in the future. So, if you've beaten the game, great. If you don't mind spoilers, we're just going to get into it, but there will be spoilers. So if you don't want to watch, just don't watch it until you've beaten the game. So let's get into it. First off, I wanted to do the gameplay. It was kind of a blend of all the games, like the combat system mixed with the survival horror of Grace, Leon's combat experience, the over the shoulder, and then Grace's survival horror. And it's kind of compared to, I think, a little bit Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 had kind of the scary moments because you have Ashley, who Leon has to protect, so there's kind of that scare factor there, and she's a very vulnerable character, which Grace also is, but Grace has some capabilities, not a lot, but some. So there's that comparison, and any of the game, resources are scarce, enemies seem more aggressive. The game really, I think, pushes you to think before you shoot, because I found times where I didn't think before. I literally kind of went in guns a-blazing, and then it was like, oh, I'm out of ammo and I'm dead. So there's kind of lots of that. The inventory management obviously is back. Leon's inventory space is obviously huge, and he can hold lots more stuff given his experience. But Grace's inventory is very minimal. You have to find the inventory pouches to expand your inventory. So once you find them all, obviously you have lots of inventory space, but for her it's very much it's limited. So I find I struggled with that, like the other games, with playing as Ethan Resident Evil 7, and Leon in Resident Evil 2, without the pouches. I found it was doing lots of management, running back and storing things and coming back for it later. Which, that's what I love about the games. It's the staple. Yeah. And I mean, the enemy design too is a huge standout. The infected in this game, they feel more, I want to say, unpredictable. It was very much I didn't know what I was getting out of the infected. I didn't know what the mutations were going to be, what in the mutations spreading. So in the late game, mutations were definitely genuinely, I think, I will say, disturbing. It was oh, okay. And seeing the lickers again too, there's just lots of disturbing things, and the gray zombies, which were very they were disturbing. So next I want to get into is Grace versus Leon. The dual protagonist system was a breath of fresh air. I really enjoyed it. It was it broke the pace up, definitely. I liked it, because you had these long Grace's sections were sometimes longer than Leon's in the beginning, for sure. And Grace's they were terrifying. Grace's, the jump scares were real, so I'd find it'd be very heightened playing Grace's, and then something really big would happen with whatever, and then it'd be boom, snap to Leon for both. I see in the beginning you'd play for Leon 15-20 minutes maybe in a segment, kind of give you a break, you kick ass, and then boom, you back to Grace, and that was maybe 30-40 minutes, maybe to an hour, and then back to Leon, so on and so forth. Yeah, Grace I think was like a wild card character. She's not Leon. She's not a seasoned government agent. She's more grounded, more vulnerable. Her gameplay really reflected that. Like you could feel her worry and anxiety, and it was just all of the things. It was, her gameplay was more slower, methodical. Like she was obviously more focused on stealth and survival. Like, how can I sneak my way out of this? Because I don't have the capabilities of just, killing all of these infected and like big boss types. Like she's more like I described. Like Leon's the brawn, she's kind of the brains. Like she had the puzzles, and Leon could do the puzzles as in two, but he didn't really have much of that. Where like they kind of left that to Grace, so she had the brains, so she was the puzzle and had the puzzles. But yeah, Leon, total opposite, and he's evolved too. Like he's in his 50s now. Like he's been through this many, many times. He's like, let's just get in, get out. I know what to do. I fought, been through this before. He's far more combat capable, and his, sections felt closer to classic Resident Evil action, but it was still grounded enough to fit the tone of this game. And the contrast between the two of them, it really worked well and made the system of the dual protagonist work for this game. And going into that, what I loved was like the story, like when their story intersected, like it felt like it mattered. Like first starting it because you played as Grace, and then it kind of, once Leon gets introduced, it felt like you're playing two campaigns. Like it very much, like that's how different it was, and they don't intersect right away, so it definitely felt very much like I'm playing two different campaigns. Like kind of similar to two when you play as like Leon, you go through his whole side of things, and then you play as Claire. Like it felt like that to start. She's dealing with the outbreak. She's basically a civilian. Like she has some idea because she does work in the government, but she's almost just like, I've got no idea what I'm doing. This is my first time doing this. I've got, no clue. Like she's just asked to do this report from the location of her mother's death, and that's it. Like that's all she's supposed to do, and then report back to her boss. Like she's not a field agent. She's office. But Leon's investigating it, from a government angle too, but more of field agent. Like I am here to put a stop to this and figure out what's going on and just stop it. Like I'm not dealing with it. I don't have the patience for it. I'm just stopping this. But as the game progresses, what I really liked is when they did intersect, like shared locations, different perspectives on like how they do things. Good example is when you're in the mansion in the beginning, and Grace sees all these cabinets, but they're damaged and locked, and Grace can't get into them. But when you go through as Leon, his axe can break through them, so you get all the stuff as Leon in them, whereas Grace doesn't get them. So it's, there's different interesting things like that. And eventually their paths do collide in really like a satisfying way, and it really pays off well. And they have a rocky relationship, but near the end, it's kind of, they're almost like a solid team. Like they kind of work well together, and Grace gets kind of like pissed with Leon about something, and then they kind of go their separate ways, and then shows back up, and then she saves him, and it was a really good dynamic. And there's moments where, let's say you did something as Leon, which directly would impact what you're playing as Grace a bit later, and vice versa, and kind of that level of narrative design can, like, it can affect the replay value. Like you kind of see things different, but it makes the world feel interconnected for sure. But it'd be like literally and the thing I found interesting too is like sometimes there are moments like when they switch, you play as Grace for a bit, and then Leon would be like 5 minutes earlier, so it's like, okay, Leon's not that far behind, or vice versa. Like Leon might be a few steps backwards, and then Grace is like a few steps forward. Like or vice versa, where Grace is a few steps backwards, but Leon's forward, and there's times where you help Grace providing like sniper fire from the infected and her trying to save Emily. So there's lots of cool things. But next I want to get into was like the ending. So there are two main outcomes, kind of like the good ending and the bad ending. And both are centered around Elpis, the cure. Now, I found out while I was playing the hard way about both endings, because it gives you the option of, do you destroy Elpis or do you activate Elpis? And Leon, the whole story is he's like, I'm destroying Elpis. Like, it's bad, I'm destroying Elpis. And they kind of reveal in the cutscene a little bit, but you don't see it kind of all, where Spencer has Grace like as a baby, and that's what atoning is for his sins. But I was kind of in Leon's headspace, I guess, when I got to the end, so I hit destroy, and it goes totally sideways. Like, it is the bad ending where Leon fights the guy that's there. I forget what his name is, not Victor, but there's another guy, kind of looks like Wesker, but he fights this guy, but he's so weak from the infection, the T virus, that he winds up getting killed. He gets shot in the head. And I remember just watching, like, my mouth was wide open. I was like, there's no way. Like, this isn't right. So then, go through the end credits, Grace leaves. She's like, I wish I could have saved you, Leon. But then it gives you the option of, do you want to go back and redo your choice? And I was like, okay, so obviously I did something wrong. So I go back, redo my choice, and activate Elpis. And in the good ending, Elpis is preserved. Grace and Leon managed to secure it, which it represents hope. That's what the password is in the good ending, is hope. And Elpis winds up being the cure. So, she gives it to the guy takes it because he thinks it's going to make him more powerful because he's infected with the T virus. He takes it, unfortunately, gets cured. To him, it's unfortunate because he's like, my powers are gone. But for Leon, it's good because he's like, okay, now I'm cured. I can finally finish the mission. It doesn't come easy, obviously, because then, Victor shows up, and it turns out Victor is a nemesis. So it explains his drive to fight Leon and Grace. So Leon and Grace get separated a bit again. Leon has a huge fight with Victor. He destroys him, kills him, and then he rescues Grace, and then he finds Grace, rather, and then they kind of are stuck. He sits, be like, Grace is like, this is it, isn't it? And then rope drop down, and then it's agents of the BSAA, and one goes right up to Leon and says, Chris Redfield has a message for you. So now, and you don't see Chris, but he's kind of in the swing of things, and Leon, they get rescued. Emily gets saved, which was great because, that was a big emotional moment for Grace when Emily got killed by Leon. But he said, I didn't really hit her weak points. I just kind of stunned her. So let's go see if we can save her. And sure enough, she gets the cure, and Grace kind of adopts her, I think. But yeah, like I said, the bad ending was much more darker. Leon dies, Grace just leaves, nothing gets cured, they're still infected. Yeah, so it was a powerful moment of choice, and I did enjoy that. And like the Chris, and it opens up so many possibilities with Chris too, like where the game could go, because I thought, like, based off kind of that lead up where like Leon is very much infected, like it's spread to his face, you can see it, he's scarred up, he's not looking good, he's coughing up, puking up blood almost, and you excuse me, like, I'm like, is this it for like new Resident Evil? Like, I know, I'll get to the future in a second, but I thought in my playthrough, I'm like, this might be it for new Resident Evil games. Like, the story past this point, like, this might be the end of the story. But I'll get into this here with the future of Resident Evil. So, based off the good ending, what I said, like, so you get rescued by the BSA, Chris, one of the agents says, Chris has a message for you to Leon, blah, blah, blah. A DLC I know is guaranteed. I think the game director said, yes, we're doing a DLC. It'll be out, when it's out. So they're going to continue the story, I think, after. Like, what happens with Elpis? Does it get widespread? Does it cure everybody? Like what? So there's definitely a post-game expansion where I think Chris will appear in it. I have no doubt of that. You know, dealing with him and Leon, dealing with the fallout of Elpis, and possibly, you know, we're going to uncover more of the BSAA's involvement in this rogue group that this guy, which I forget his name, runs. That, you know, there's an end kind of little credit after credit scene where like remaining BSA agents that got left behind are wiped out. So it's kind of interesting to see who that is and what's going on behind the scenes there. Second, Resident Evil 10. I do think there will be one. I didn't think at first, but you know, if Elpis is a true cure, that changes everything. It shifts the series from just, you know, containing the outbreaks or like blowing up Raccoon City to potentially ending it. Like we could see the end of the viruses, or at least, you know, trying to. But I think knowing this franchise, it's, you know, it's not going to be simple. Like there's, you know, going to be another twist or some other organization or another bioweapon that will complicate things that maybe Elpis won't work for. But I was thinking during my playthrough of it, when I was talking about, I don't know if there'll be more Resident Evil. I know there will be, because there's going to be remakes. You know, we've, the end of Resident Evil 4 remake, there's the after credit scene showing Wesker. We know there's going to be a Resident Evil 5 remake. That, I think, will be next. As far as, like, a main game goes. And who knows what Capcom has down the pipeline. Like, whether we see Code Veronica remake, or a Zero remake, or a 1 remake. Like, they've got lots to do, and this is definitely not the end of Resident Evil. Not by a long shot. So, I mean, again, final thoughts here. Like, the gameplay is tight. The dual character system works incredibly well. And the story, especially with its, you know, branching endings, can add a bit of depth and replayability. Now, it's just 2 endings, and it makes, you know, when you do the bad ending, it just makes you redo the good ending. But that replayability and, like, stuff you missed is there. Grace was a fantastic addition to the series, and, you know, her gameplay kind of evolves from Ethan's a little bit, where she can fight like him, but is definitely very timid and scared. I mean, Leon always continues to evolve as a character, and, you know, the way, like I said, their stories intertwined was a huge highlight of the entire game. I really enjoyed it. And for me, personally, like, it's not perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect game, but there's a bit of pacing issues. Like, I found sometimes Grace's segments went on a little bit too long. Like, it felt like it was almost an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I'm like, we haven't seen Leon in a while. Like, it was, and this could have just been me because sometimes I got stuck on a puzzle. So it's like, to me, it's dragging a little bit, and, you know, some sections felt drawn out to me. Like, that's my personal opinion. But the highs of this game far away this low that I have about the game. It's just my take. Like, it's still a great game. Like, but yeah, that's just my take. Like, I don't expect people to have the same thing. It could have been paced fine, and maybe it was, but that just could have been my issue being stuck on a puzzle, or puzzle being tricky, or whatever. Like, I do think it was good. Like I said, playing an hour or so as Grace, and then bumping to Leon for a bit. That back forth really worked well, but the odd section being a bit long for Grace definitely felt stretched out a bit. But then Leon is so fast paced, it kind of like snaps you out of it. It's like, okay, then I'm back reinvigorated in Grace's story, and then it's fun. Yeah, let me know in the comments, like, wrapping up here, did you do the good ending, like the hope ending, or did you do the destruction ending first, like I did, and we're just kind of like, oh, that was a whoops. And kind of let me know too, what do you think is next for Resident Evil as a series? Like, what are your thoughts? But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to please like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. We'll see everybody in the next one. Thanks for watching.